it's Phil Ratcliffe, and thanks for joining us once again for our weekly live broadcast. This week we have Brian Wagner in here from A Radical Vision. Thanks so much for being here,
Absolutely.
man.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I mean, I've had some fun watching your videos. I love that you put them all out there on your website. And so, in terms of introduction, we were going to do something a little different. He's got a great little 2-minute video that I think is just superb. So we're going to play that for you. So watch that, and that will be a great introduction to Brian for you guys. And you can get echo if you hear your own voice. A few seconds apart. Oh, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Welcome back to us. That's a great one. Obviously, you can tell that Brian's talented. I love that snippet of all you're talking. So tell us, you know, now that we got that intro, tell us what you do and how you help people.
Yeah, so what I do, I help people with speaking. I have speaking engagements, and it's all really based on the book that I have that I wrote about a year ago. It's called Sometimes It Does Take a Brain Surgeon. This book is based on my story of having brain surgery about 7 years ago, and so it's really 3 main things that I talk to people about, that I work with people on. It's 1 from a speaking perspective, 2 is the book, and I actually have a blog as well, and then the 3rd thing is coaching. So I coach people. I have people that are looking for help with moving forward. What's going on? Why are they not being able to go past a certain point?
Sure.
So I help them with their blind spots. I help them with what they're not seeing. So it's everything I do has to do with being blind or having sight or having vision. And that's really the 3-step process that I take people through. It's blind, sight, vision. And some of the other executives I'm working with are I'm helping them from a vision perspective, because they have a vision for their lives, but they don't have someone to help them implement it. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and so some of it is personal, most of it's business related, though.
Right.
Like when you're doing the coaching.
Exactly.
And of course, you know, that's an awesome analogy, like vision to vision. It's people need it, right? You know, and you know, I think especially Americans, we love the conquering adversity and doing something great and helping other people. That kind of leads me into, you know, for those of our listeners or watchers that don't know your backstory. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what's motivated you and inspired you to want to go out there and turn this around and help other people, you know?
Yeah, well, 7 years ago, I woke up on the couch and I couldn't see. I was totally blind, so I stumbled to the restroom and turned on the light switch, and nothing seemed to happen. When I did, I was a little shocked, as you might understand. I looked at the mirror and couldn't see anything, but I did see slits out of the bottom of my eyes, so I could tell that lights were on. What happened was I had 2 cavernous malformations in my brainstem, and one of those cavernous malformations had bled, and it bled, putting pressure on the nerves that control my vision.
Yeah.
And when it did, you know, both my eyelids went down, and now both my eyeballs don't go together. So even if this eyelid were open, I would see double. So I have an image here, and I have an image down here, and it required me to go and have brain surgery.
Yeah.
Well, we went into the emergency room in Columbus first, and we had a conversation with the doctor, and there for hours and hours. And finally, he comes in and he says, "Well, you know, you're going to have brain surgery." And I'm like, "Okay, why?"
Yeah.
He said, "Well, the problems you have are just only going to become worse and more frequent." So those are the only words that I heard until I was able to have brain surgery and we went to Phoenix, Arizona to have it, because he recommended that we not have it in Columbus. He recommended that we go elsewhere to have a specialist for this type of surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they even told you that you could die from that, right? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And here you are now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back and great and helping people.
Yeah. And so that's, I mean, for 6 months I was blind. And when you're blind, you can't do anything on your own. You can't go anywhere on your own. You can't, you know, get around your house barely on your own. I knew when that happened that I wanted to be able to help other people. That was my my reason, and it's still my reason for everything I do. It's
Yeah.
to be able to help other people. You know, just I think of how that time was, and I know how hard it was for me. And if there's anything I can do to help other people
Sure.
get through tough times as well,
Probably changes your perspective at the time, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I was in IT sales for almost 20 years, and getting out of that and realizing that I had this passion, and I have this huge passion for doing what I do.
Yeah.
It's just helped me so much because I know my purpose, I know my passion. I'm putting all my efforts in this one direction, so it's been phenomenal to have
That's
that level of focus. I mean, a lot of people don't have that, so I want to help them with that.
So do you actually ever have people that have recently gone physically blind that want help from you to, like, because you've been through that? There's probably not many coaches that even
There are
have
not many
that,
coaches for that. I've not had people that have recently gone blind, but I have
Yeah.
people that are going blind. So I work here at the Ohio School for the Blind, and there are people there, even though it's the Ohio School for the Blind, there are people there that are transitioning. So they have different diseases or different genetic things that are going
Sure.
on with their eyes, and they need to have someone to help. It's not so much that I provide specific help because I'm not a doctor,
Sure.
but I provide help from a perspective of, yes, I've gone through a similar thing,
Yeah.
and I can relate a little bit more than the average person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that a lot of people wouldn't want sympathy from people that don't even know what they're going through, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
Yeah.
that would be harder. Well, okay, so you talk a lot about mental blindness. So
Mhm.
what's that mean?
Mental blindness. It really is blind spots that we have in our lives. So, I have a friend whose name is Dee. And Dee told me about some mental blindness that she had in her life.
Mhm.
She was at her son's cross-country meet. She just arrived, so she was still in the parking lot. There's a little bit of separation from the parking lot to the actual meet.
Okay.
So, as she's in the parking lot getting her stuff ready, she gets a text from one of her coworkers, and she gets involved in the text and starts talking about something with her friend, and it's an issue. So she gets heated about this problem that's come across her text, and she realizes that because there's a separation from the cross-country meet and the parking lot, they have a bus, a shuttle bus. Well, she gets so enthralled in answering this text that she misses the shuttle bus. She almost misses her son's cross-country meet because of her blind spot that was caused by her coworker.
Sure.
It's a blind spot. That's a similar. That's an example of a blind spot.
Okay. Awesome. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what are some good examples? And that's a great one.
Yeah.
What is for most people, what's kind of a very common blind spot, or maybe or one of the more egregious ones that you've heard of?
I don't know if I would say it's a common blind spot, but I mean, for example, I had just taken a trip, and I have a wife and 3 kids at home, and I was worried about myself and how things were going on my trip, and I didn't realize, or I didn't think of how it was affecting the rest of the family. So that's a blind spot that I had to understand that there's other people in my life. So everything we do is a blind spot. Or I'm sorry, not everything we do.
There is something, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We only have so much attention, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you talking to me, I'm sure you have blind spots as well. So my blind spots are sometimes that I interrupt people. That's a blind spot.
Yeah.
Another blind spot that I have is sometimes I'm not understanding or not listening to them as well as I should be before answering the question. I'm sometimes thinking about my response before. Yeah.
And that I think that's probably something that a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Because they want to appear like they have a good answer or what so, and sometimes you do miss a lot of that.
They
as
just
well.
don't see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that old experiment where the scientists or the researchers asked the people to count how many people are in white jerseys when they're playing this basketball game, and they have a gorilla guy go across the middle there, and then at the end they asked them if any of them had seen anything out of the ordinary, and almost none of them did.
Right.
And it's just like, how can you not see a gorilla going across the court? But yeah, it's like you only have so much attention.
Yeah.
And there is a lot. I mean, we'd go crazy if every piece of information came into our brain, right?
Right.
Then we had to like pay attention to it. Well, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, what type of organizations or what specific type of training do you find benefit people or organizations the most?
Well, so I have three. I have this one level of training, and it's actually called an experience.
Okay.
It's kind of like a workshop.
Yeah.
And it takes people from point of blindness to sight to vision. That's really everything we do. It's all about having people go from point of blindness to sight to vision. And so that's one that's very, very well attended.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of success with that. But different organizations that are appropriate for it, I mean, it kind of depends.
Yeah.
They could be sales organizations, they could be, managers, executives, and those sorts of people. Because what it is that we do, it helps people to not only build great teams, but also to be able to run great teams. Because a lot of what we have is based on the leadership principles. Leadership principles that are, being able to understand what it is that you're doing, being able to understand how you're affecting other people, being able to understand you need to be vulnerable and let your coworkers understand how you're handling a situation and why. Understand different I lost my word for a second. Different things that are going through your head. What are your motives? That's my word.
Yeah. To get back to what is that book? And I think there's a TED, because you were on a TED Talk, and I thought that was great when you did. I watched that one as well. But there's another TED Talk about that. What was it? Start with why.
Yeah.
It's and so
Simon
like so
Sinek.
many. That's it. Yep. And so many people and companies don't. They're just like, how do I get something done? And what do we do? But the most successful businesses, and I think he uses Apple as a really good example of that. You gotta, like, why do we do what we do? And then especially, I guess, leadership wise, like with what you're saying there, as like even leaders need to maybe telegraph that better to people so that people aren't ascribing false motives to each other, right?
Right. Yeah, I talk a little bit about the thing called the Johari window. The Johari window is it's a tool. It's for self-awareness, and it talks to people about their blind spots. And the one way you can eliminate your blind spots is you can solicit feedback. But anytime you solicit feedback, you have to receive it as a gift.
It's tough, yeah.
And when you receive a gift, what do you say?
Thank you, yeah.
Exactly. Same thing with feedback. So that's going to allow you to get better feedback, or at least consistent feedback in the future. Another part of the window is I talk about the hidden areas that we have in our lives, where we know things about ourselves, but other people don't know them.
Sure.
So it's not a blind spot, it's a hidden area. And the one way we're able to, help people is to be vulnerable, to help them understand our motives, our incentives, and all those things.
Yeah.
So if we're able to do that as a leader with our teams, that's going to allow it's going to allow us to be much more open in the future.
Awesome. Yeah. So how do people get in touch with you or come out to see you, or what's kind of the process on that?
So I have a website, and my website is aradicalvision.com.
That's a wonderful URL. I like it. It was really easy. So.
Yeah, thank you. And there's another URL. Actually, I have a few other URLs as well. There's a URL called brianwithoneye.com. So
awesome.
if you go there, you can get 5 reasons for making your conference better. But it actually connects. It actually connects to a Radical Vision. So you can do that on the internet. But then there's also Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So and all of those are a Radical Vision.
I think we've been putting it up on the broadcast so people can see it. We'll also put a couple links below on YouTube and Vimeo and Facebook, so you can click on that. And I really liked your. Let's just throw up the webpage real fast, if you guys wouldn't. Like on the speaking page. Let's give them a second to make sure they got it up here.
Alright.
On this speaking page here, you've got that's that video that we showed you guys earlier. But then you have a lot of other ones here. There's your TED, or that's a snippet, and is that the whole thing?
Yeah.
And then you got some testimonials, and then I saw down here you had a long one, like where you had a good long talk right there down there.
Right,
so.
and the one above that is, if you could see what I see, that's the good long talk. That's
this one is.
That's an hour.
Yeah, this one was short. Yeah, this one was an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there's your blog right there, and I thought you posted some great stuff on Facebook and stuff. So I think we liked your page earlier. So
cool.
You guys should go ahead and like a page. That's how you know when stuff's going on with businesses. You just like their page. So, well, anything, words or snippets of wisdom you'd like to leave us with as we wrap it up?
That's a great question. I guess I would like to have people just understand that everything they do has an effect on someone else. And to be able to understand that, that's going to be the first stage or first step you're going to take in understanding that you're blind.
Yeah.
And once you understand you're blind, you're going to be able to begin to affect other people. But the problem is, you can't affect other people until you change yourself. So once you change yourself, then you're going to be able to have a much longer lasting effect.
Absolutely. And analyzing yourself is kind of hard to do, because it's
self-improvement,
like,
too,
It's just like, you got to admit that you're not perfect. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Brian.
Yeah,
we appreciate
absolutely.
having you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for all you do, and I hope you keep having tons of success to help people see better and have a better vision of the world.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Join us next week. We got Tina Banaski on with B. Scotty. So I think it'll be great. Local business that's making delicious food, and it's always wonderful to hear from all of our local talented people from around the area. So have a great weekend. Enjoy some nice, hopefully a little cooler weather, but still some sunshine, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
We'll call off in a second, and then. So if anybody's watching this one right now, you kind of get in the back view. Obviously, you saw earlier and in between, and you can see all around and all the different cameras. So this is only the second time we did the 360 live broadcast. Thanks for tuning in if you're watching this one, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.